Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast. On Wednesdays we talk weird, where we talk about everything from the ooky
to the spooky.
So, how have you guys been this past week? I know nothing's really been going on, but something big did happen. We got a new episode of Tiger King.
Which was lame.
It was not good at all. I'd pretty much seen everything already. Just cruising YouTube alone, so there really wasn't new information there, but we were actually just talking about how, we kind of want to do these little segments where we talk to you guys about things that have happened throughout the week, but nothing really happens throughout the week anymore, so it's kind of hard to find anything to talk about, so... COVID. How you guys doing? How's the couch? Is it comfy still? No, probably not. Well, anyway, so I'm actually really excited to talk about this week's topic. So we decided we were going to talk to you guys about Atlantis. And I'm pretty stoked about it. I don't know. I guess maybe it's the water sign in me that likes talking about things involved with the water. But I don't know, just... all the deep sea mysteries kind of get me going, so we figured that's what we would go about with this week. So, what is Atlantis? What
a sunken city.
Well, it might not be a sunken city though.
True.
It might not be a sunken city. So when we were kind of doing a little bit of research here, we looked into it, and apparently Atlantis started with Plato, and Plato told this story, and Atlantis wasn't really even like a big agenda in his writings at all, but he told this story of the city that was, taken down because of spite, basically. But, he says that it was once a really thriving city, and it was kind of a utopia, and they weren't really grateful for it, and so it was basically swallowed up by the sea. And, like, from what we were reading about it, it's like...
well, they called it an allegory, which is kind of like the mix-up of the word allegedly and story.
Yeah, well, because, when we were looking into it, remember, we were trying to find, if it predated Plato at all. And all it really said was that this was just kind of something that was passed on to Plato himself, as the years went on, as, a traditional story. It was just kind of something... it was like a basic knowledge thing that everybody just kind of knew about. So,
What is that called? Old wives' tale.
Just something that everybody kind
of
knows
knows
about.
Old wives' tales,
yeah.
Not necessarily. Those are pretty much false.
Yeah, not really that. It's just it's just basic knowledge that we know, as humans, I guess.
But the weird thing is why wasn't it recorded before Plato?
Yeah.
Because, surely Plato was not the first person to record history.
Right, yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
So maybe it is false. Maybe it is just...
right. That's
supposed
true.
to be...
That's true. But that would mean, so if that was Atlantis, does that mean that, the people died with the city when the city was sunken into the ocean? So that they didn't go on anymore after that, or...
where are the Atlanteans now?
Right, where are they now? Exactly. And so, I think that kind of goes with, Atlantis. I know when I think of Atlantis, I think of, typically if you see it in pop culture and stuff, it's a thriving civilization. It's not, desolate ruins somewhere, which tells me that it's probably not a sunken city. In my own, the way that I would like to see it. So, you talk about Atlantis and you're talking an underwater people. Usually they're like mermaids living in this, utopian town that's just underwater. So,
were they either there that way already, or...
right. Did they evolve to that, or did they start there and Atlantis just has always been a part of the oceans? It really, that's really a matter of opinion. Because, if that's what we're saying, if we're saying that Atlantis is just a sunken city, then you've got, Lion City's a sunken city. I mean, it's there. We've got proof that this once existed, and it pretty much fell off into the water. And so, but there's no people living there. We know because we've been there. We haven't met anybody from Lion City, so
True.
That's kind of the thing. But then when you want to start talking about, when you want to start talking about like a people living at Atlantis, again, is it because the people had to evolve? Because usually when we talk about like water destroying land, it like can happen over time. So one of the theories is that like the entire Earth, not the entire Earth, but we were mostly land, and we were all one big chunk of land, and that was Pangea, right? And so the theory is that eventually Pangea has broken off into 7 different spaces, and that's where we are today. And like people joke all the time about how like California is gonna like fall off into the ocean one day because the water is overtaking the land.
Or how Hawaii is gonna sink.
Right, because the water is gonna take over the land. So it's like, and so that's a slow progression. We don't expect that to just happen in a day, So if that's a slow progression, maybe as time has gone on, the people that lived there had to evolve in order to evolve with that progression of the city.
But if that is the case, couldn't we essentially do that now? Like with people that live in Florida? Like, they're at the beach all the time. Why wouldn't they be able to evolve? Like, what's changed? Is it 5G?
What do you mean? What is that?
With all this 5G, we can't evolve.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, 5G did cause the pandemic after all.
Right.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but Florida could be evolving. It's just that Florida could be evolving. It's just that we don't see the evolution happening because it's so slow. So I mean, that is a possibility. Maybe that's why they've had to maybe that's why you always see all the Florida man stuff, because they've had to shrink their brains to accommodate for the water. So they're just sorry, Floridians.
But y'all are dumb.
Yeah, sorry.
Not as a whole, just as a majority.
As a majority, yeah. But no, I mean, is that, it could be part of it. And like I said, that could be part of the evolution. But, but on the other side of that, maybe Atlanteans are, like a race of fish people, that have always been there. Maybe we came from them. Maybe we evolved from them. They didn't evolve from us, but we evolved from them. And so, that is a theory. It's called the aquatic ape theory. And, it's about basically saying that instead of us evolving from some type of primate that was already on land, we just evolved from some type of aquatic species. And, there's different things that people have to back it up. I mean, it is a theory, and so maybe it's just a lost civilization instead of a sunken city. Maybe that's what would make it special. I mean, what criteria would you need for us to discover something like that and call it Atlantis?
Right.
Couldn't be a sunken city if they've already been there. I mean,
well, unless they were already there and then a city sunk, and then they began to populate that city. But people are going to know if a city sunk. So it's like,
yeah,
it wouldn't be something that
well,
nobody
now
knows
they
where it's at.
would. Now you really would. I mean, with the internet, it'd be all over.
Right.
It'd be all over the internet.
Could you imagine if Plato had the internet?
People would just think he's nuts.
Right.
That would have been crazy. Yeah, I mean, right, if it happened nowadays, people would know. But then again, back in the day, I mean, maybe that is the way that Plato knew, was because people knew that the city, people were there just to witness it. But Plato said that event happened 9,000 years after his modern, or before, rather, before his modern time. So it happened 9,000 years before Plato even. So it's like, but if you tell a story over 9,000
Right.
years, that shit's gonna break down over time.
Well, not only that, how did it just go away? I mean, really, it didn't know because he wrote about it, but then it's still like this unknown thing.
we
Like,
haven't
how could
discovered
it
the
get
city.
so far away from us as people?
That's true. Well, I don't think it really has. I mean, I think we talk about it, but why is it mythical, But that's because we've told our own stories about it over the years. Again, if you play a game of telephone, you start with one sentence and then you end up with some crazy shit at the end of it.
Right.
And so that would be the same way, telling the stories of Atlantis would be, basically playing an ancient game of telephone.
And we know how that went down before.
What do you mean?
With the Bible.
Oh, with the Jesus. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's...
Well, not really, because they claimed God spoke to them, but whatever. And then they logged it, I guess. They're like that bitch in the courtroom.
Well, a lot of people in modern times do believe that the Bible is not to be taken literally. That, it's stories that have been translated incorrectly over time, which makes sense, but, I mean...
Well, and then you have people that translate it to manipulate and control. But anyway, back to Atlantis. I think that kind of, bridges the gap between, like, how there could be a potential, like, spiritual aspect to it,
Okay.
because we constantly look for things beyond ourselves. So,
Right.
if we started in the water and we looked beyond ourselves in the water, and then we came to the land,
Right.
well, now we're trying to go to space.
So it's just a natural progression, like a natural evolution.
Yeah,
a
I mean, it
natural
makes
spiritual
sense.
evolution, yeah.
Because we keep going further and further out.
Further and further out, just expanding outside of ourselves. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It could
Because
be
it's
that.
like you can only go so deep into the ocean before you hit the bottom. Or go to the other side. Who knows? Maybe
Well, yeah.
No, I'm
well,
just kidding.
yeah,
Science.
swim right through. Swim right
Science
through.
says otherwise.
Fuck
But
science.
what is science?
Yeah.
We're here to question everything.
Exactly. Well, right. I mean, if we had started off, so if you take like the aquatic ape theory, and you say that we started as a type of sea primate, maybe we were overpopulating the resources that we had as a species in the ocean. Okay, so maybe we moved to land to try to take advantage of those
But
resources.
There's more ocean than there is water.
Hold on.
Well, that doesn't mean
At the
there's more
time, it
resources.
couldn't have been. So if it was Pangea, and there was more land, physical land at the time, and there was water, then you would have had more land at the time when we would have evolved.
Now, see, science states that there is the same amount of water on Earth now that there was 9,000 years ago. Like,
Okay.
as far back as time has been recorded.
Okay.
But you can't
Yeah.
really say that about land because it's split apart now.
What do you mean? Like there's as much land as there used to be?
Right.
I see what you're saying, just that the water is maybe dispersed differently at the time that it was a big thing.
Yeah.
Well, but either way, whatever it is, I mean, if we were a thriving people, and we weren't aquatic apes, and we were thriving, and we're human, so what do? We conquer and destroy. And so, if we were destroying the resources in the ocean, and we would have looked to different resources, then we could have eventually evolved into land.
And we don't
And
know.
now, what we're doing now is exactly that. We're destroying the resources that we have on the land. We've already destroyed the resources in the water, so now we have to go out into space to find more resources.
But it also doesn't mean that there's more or less resources, because it's like, if you think about it from our perspective, space has less resources than the Earth because it's unknown.
What do you mean?
We can't go out there and grow trees. We don't understand the ecosystem because there essentially really isn't one, because we don't know.
You're right, but the way that we're looking at it now is that we're either going to try to expand our resources, or we're just going to, stay here and die, because frankly, there's too many people on the earth anyway.
Yeah.
We're already destroying it. So, I mean, what choice do we have? It is a desperate measure, But we have looked into like colonizing Mars and stuff like that. I mean, so it's not unrealistic for us to go to another planet.
I agree.
You know, and you know, then take up those resources, and then you know, eventually we could become just a collective planet eater, and just go to different to different planets and just you know use up those resources as we need to. So, you know, but that's just a thought on the evolution of where Atlanteans could have come from. I mean, so if that were the case, do you think that we would still have, you know, Atlanteans today? I mean, living in the ocean, and if so, why do they stay away from us?
Who knows?
Why don't they reach out and, you know, try
Maybe because we were cast out, or we were cursed.
Maybe. It could be.
I mean, there's really no way to know what could have happened. You know, if Atlantis does exist.
Right. If it does. Well, there's just so much. I mean, we haven't explored all of the ocean. Now, everybody says we've only explored like 5% or whatever of the ocean. That's a bullshit statistic. Not because it's, you know, it's just maybe there's a different number or whatever. But, like, how can we put a percentage on something that we don't know the percentage of?
Right. So,
like, we can't say we've explored 5% of the ocean when we don't know the ocean even as a whole. Because we don't. You know, that's how little there is that we know about it, really. You know. So, I mean, they could be out there somewhere, you know, living, you know, close to the actual core of the earth, and, you know, we don't know. Maybe we just haven't stumbled upon each other yet. I mean...
Right. Is there anybody developing any kind of technology to, like, go to those depths?
Yeah.
Like, we have satellites in space, but it's like, why can't we get some kind of instrument to go down to the very bottom of the ocean and report information? Is it the water? Is that why the Atlantis is in the water?
What do you mean?
To, like, have that interference so it can't be found.
I see what you mean. It could be. I don't know. I mean, I think it's just the technology. We're just not there yet. I mean, there are people working to develop that. We do get deeper and deeper into it, but we haven't actually touched the bottom yet.
Right.
You know?
I don't think a human ever will.
We might not. We might actually move to space before that happens. I mean, that's a possibility.
We do have spacesuits, so we could have water suits that basically don't fall victim to the pressure of the depths of the ocean.
Or some type of ship, or, you know, like some type of submarine. You know, we can...
But the only thing with that is, you know, fuel or whatever the fuck they use. You know, like, they get all the way down there, and it's like, oh, well, look at this. Well, we can't get to the top.
That would fucking suck.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I'd be so sad. Yeah, if you think fucking being stranded in space is bad, try being stranded in the fucking ocean.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of that movie, Gravity. The Sandra Bullock gets lost in space. Gravity 2.
No, we call it Under Pressure.
Yeah. Gravity. Under Pressure.
Under Pressure. Yeah, we might need to make a movie.
We still gotta keep Sandra Bullock, though.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
That'd be so unfortunate to do to her character. The bitch got lost in space, now she's gonna get fucking lost at sea.
That's what it was all about.
Yeah, it was about that. You think her character would be willing to get on a fucking submarine into the unknown after being lost in space?
She came in on back to Earth on that little ship, that little orb thing, whatever the fuck it was.
Right, but if you were Sandra Bullock in that movie and you ended up getting back to Earth, because it is damn near impossible. If you get stuck out in space, I'm sorry, realistically, like, you're fucked. Like, you're done. Yeah. So, like, you actually do happen to get back to Earth. Bitch, I'm going home, and I'm staying the fuck home.
Yeah, I mean, you know, rest and recover, we all need to do that, but, girl...
I'm going home forever.
If you are a person that is willing to go into space, surely you're a person that's willing to go underwater.
I mean, know.
Depending on the person, but it's the same thing, just down instead of up.
How did we get on this subject?
I don't know. Ocean, water.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, like, maybe Atlanteans, like, talk about us and they like speculate about us and like if we exist.
What if they walk among us?
Well, you think they can just come in and out of the water like that?
Girl, people got webbed feet.
That's true. Oh no.
Where them come from?
I never trust the motherfucker with the webbed feet.
Right.
It's an Atlantean. No, no, like maybe like in their world they talk about the people that live like above them, like the people that live in their skies, because wouldn't that be their sky? The ocean would be their sky.
Yeah.
So they talk about the people that live in the skies, and then maybe like they like, you know, maybe
or
they come up
above the water be space to them.
Well, I mean, it'd be water.
Like we have sky.
It depends. It depends on
space.
how far they've traveled. So like maybe like they've traveled up a little bit and they've like seen some humans. Like you hear about like the fucking like the fishermen and stuff that report the sirens and all that, which is essentially would be some type of merfolk, you know, mer people, and you know, but maybe the Atlanteans have like surfaced and like they've seen us. And they like freak out, and they go back and tell everybody like, I saw this thing, it had legs instead of fins. And they're like, legs? What's that?
Right.
You're crazy. And we're like a mythical creature to them.
I wonder what they would name us. You know, we call them
Atlanteans or mermaids, or we have a bunch of names for them. So I don't know. That's a good question.
We'd still be the Americans.
I saw one, an American. All of us.
Right. Even in Africa.
Right. All Americans. The French American. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Or like that commercial with the cat teaching the baby kitten and talking about the vacuum, but he calls it vacuum.
No, I don't. I've never seen that.
So they could call us Human.
Human, yeah. Yeah. Or like you with the Nook Miles, the Nuke.
Yeah.
Nuke, Tom Nuke.
Or it's like they come to land and somebody's like, hey, Stephanie. And they're like, we saw Stephanie. Oh my God. Or even worse, Karen.
Oh no.
She's made it to the depths of the ocean.
They come out.
That's what we need. We need to send Karen to the ocean.
Yes.
She can get to the bottom of it.
Karen owes us.
Right. She can get to the bottom of anything. So even with an expired
Put Karen
coupon.
on the case. That'd be a good show. I got a lot of movie and shows.
Karen on the case.
Karen on the case. Yep. Where we like put her to work on all these like crazy. We'll put her to work on like the John Benet Ramsey case, and she'll solve that shit.
Yeah. Or it's like she'll have a TV show and it'll be like Gordon Ramsay or what's her name from Salon Takeover.
Oh.
Where they're just complete assholes. Like, no, she is right. And it's like this lady getting off work and her name tag says Karen. It's like, Karen is always right.
She's got her hair cut.
Yep.
Her phone's attached to her face at all times. Got the police on speed dial.
Right.
All she's got to hit is 9.
Shit, the police call her like, you doing okay today, Karen?
Karen on the case. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we do Karen on the case? I think it sounds like a great idea. Oh, that's so funny. That's the fun part about talking about, you know, one of these topics like Atlantis is that, you know, it's so outside of the realm of reality that it's easy to take it and bring it back into some type of realism that we can, you know, kind of make up in our minds, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, it's fun because there's so many theories surrounding it that, you know, it could and couldn't be. If somebody came up to you and was like, hey, you know, I believe in Atlantis or whatever, like, most people are going to be like,
Right. Did you cry?
Right. But if you, like, sit down and really look at, like, the science of it, you know, there could be something.
I think the real question here is, do you believe in Atlantis?
No, I don't. I don't want to come down to it. I don't.
You people have heard it first. Atlantis does not exist.
Astros does not believe in it, so it must not be real. No, yeah, I just, like, it doesn't seem plausible to me. I don't believe in mermaids. Like
I believe in mermaids.
You said that. You've said that before.
I just don't think they're necessarily our depiction of them, like from Disney or what was it, Norway's fairy tales.
So do you believe it in like the sense that it's like a fish upper body and a legs?
I mean,
like a reverse mermaid.
Like I think it could just be like, you know, resemblant of a human in a way, because you know, like
animal?
It's kind of like how with Atlantis, like things have gotten
so far out of the realm,
right, that it's just been passed down verbally, and it gets, you know, mixed up and changed. So it's like maybe somebody did see what they thought was a mermaid, and really it was just like a big old sperm whale.
I don't know.
Those
about
don't come
that.
to the surface.
Well, that is what they've said, that like fishermen and stuff have mistaken like manatees for mermaids. With
big
the
bitch
old,
mermaids,
yeah,
come through. Lizzo, we need you on that.
A big bitch mermaid, get it, girl. Yeah, they've said that. You know, they think that like they've mistaken manatees, which is funny because manatees are so large and not mermaid-like. I guess except for the tails. I mean, maybe if they're just seeing the tails surface out of the water.
Maybe that was the inspiration of Tusk. Just change it from manatee to walrus.
The inspiration from Tusk came because actually Kevin Smith was on his podcast.
Yep.
So if Kevin Smith can do it and make a fucking movie about a guy turning another guy into a fucking walrus, we can make Karen on the case.
And that dude that played the guy that got all fucking tortured and shit.
Justin Long?
Oh, he's so hot.
Yeah, he really is.
Anything he wants.
Even as a walrus man? Would you fuck him as a walrus man?
Depends. Am I already committed to him?
Did you like him before that?
It might be something we can work on.
Get you one of them big old tusks.
Hey, the bottom half's gone.
Oh no, I mean, yeah, it's. I guess that's a possibility. If you look at like the Fiji mermaids, which aren't real. I mean, they were fake. But people take basically like monkey tops and sew them onto like fish bottoms, and like the monkeys are all, they're kind of decomposed and stuff, and they'll mummify them, and that way it looks all creepy, and then it's like, oh, it's a mermaid. I mean, they look really good, but they don't quite look human.
No.
They look all fucked up. So I mean,
well, a mermaid, even if it is half human, half fish, doesn't have to be the size of a human. It could be small. Could you imagine, like a little Tinkerbell mermaid?
that'd be adorable.
Be oh my god, Disney!
Where's your Tinkerbell mermaid, Disney?
Come through.
No, I don't know. I don't know if we're allowed to say the D word on on air. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess I could see what you're saying, though. It could just be like an undiscovered something.
So you could say the same thing about Atlantis. It could just be like a
an
really
undiscovered
little city.
Something. Just a teeny tiny city.
Just tiny.
Well, like, so...
Somebody walking in the ocean just crunches it. And it's gone
they don't
forever.
even know it ever happened. They're just killing an entire race of people. And they're just on vacation with their family.
Right.
They're down in Tampa.
Probably a little girl named Karen.
Oh, no. Karen killed the Atlanteans. And she was the senior manager about it.
Right. That's how she got her power.
Oh, God. That's where she gets it from, the Atlanteans.
Yeah.
She soaks it up through her foot when she crushes it.
Yeah. They actually say there's a way to quit smoking, and it's taking the snuff pouches, and you put it between your big toe and your second toe, and you do that for like a week, and it helps you quit smoking.
How does that help you quit smoking?
I don't know.
Because you're sick of wearing fucking snuff pouches in your shoes.
I guess, I don't know.
You're like, I better quit so I can stop doing this dumb shit.
There's one lady in the gas station that I used to work at that she told me that, and she said she tried it and it worked.
Girl, I don't know. You worked at the fucking
No, she wasn't one of the.
So you worked at the Lit Biscuit fucking
Yeah.
Sunoco, so.
Yeah, she wasn't. No, she wasn't like a meth head or an alcoholic or anything. She's actually a teacher, and she was, really well spoken and very knowledgeable. But she also, I had a migraine one day,
Okay.
and she came in, and she could tell I was uncomfortable. So she asked me what was wrong. I was like, I've just had migraine all day, blah 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 blah. And she's like, well, there's this tiny little gland in the webbing between your thumb and your index finger that you can pinch.
I've heard that.
And you pinch it for 30 seconds and it will relieve your headache. And it worked. So if she shows me some shit like that and then next week comes in and says, if you put snuff between your toe, you can quit smoking, I might believe it.
Did you do it?
No.
You quit smoking for a while, so I don't know if that was
Cold
why.
turkey for 5 years.
Wow. That's cool though. I have heard that about the webbing of the hand, and I've heard that for like various like pain and stuff, like general. I've heard it for like dental pain and stuff like that.
Well, she said the gland was she learned that from Native American practices.
Did she say gland really? Because that's a nerve, ain't it? That's not a gland. They don't have a gland in there.
I don't know. It was like 7 years ago. It might not have been gland, but it could be.
Hold on a second. Let me squeeze my gland.
It's really tiny. It's hard to find.
Gland.
Like you actually have to be like conscious of there being like this tiny little bead in there. It's literally like it's not as small as like a grain of sand, but it's like I don't know.
I don't think there's a gland in here. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I have no idea. I don't think so.
On our next week's episode, we'll be talking about glands.
We'll talk about all the glands in your body.
No, that's not.
We might. We'll see. Well, I mean, on that note, do you have anything else you want to share about your thoughts on Atlantis, or what you think? I just think that if it's there, if it exists, and it's a utopian little town, then their science would be so far advanced that they would have no problem getting to us. Now, whether or not they would want to, right, that's right, exactly. I mean, whether or not they would want to see us as another, maybe they're so far advanced that they know that, we're on some bullshit.
Maybe they're see-through now.
And that's true.
And that's why we can't see them.
I don't know.
And then they see us before we see them, and they skedaddle.
Maybe it's just they're not perfect at it, and so. Because there's people that have sightings of, like I said, mer people. People claim that they've seen mermaids or, things like that. I don't know. There was an entire documentary, and let me scratch that. There was an entire mockumentary on Animal Planet, and it was about mermaids, and they did 2 of them. And like the first one was like mermaids, the body found, and the second one was, I don't know, something else. But they weren't real. But it did get a lot of people talking about like these like mermaids and stuff again, which was really interesting. Because then everybody started coming out of the woodwork with their sightings. But maybe that's just because that's what was popular.
Or maybe it was just a cover-up.
That's what the documentary was about. The mockumentary. No, it was not good. It was pretty fake. Like they'd have like videos and stuff of like these mermaids, and I still see them to this day circulated around. And it looks bad, like bad CGI. I mean, it doesn't look real, and so it's like. But then again, I mean, if you saw something, if we really had like clear footage of anything, we'd automatically, especially in this day and age, we'd automatically assume it's fake.
Yeah.
We'd be like, oh, it looks too good, it's fake.
Right. So where's Bigfoot?
So where is he?
Yeah.
Well,
let's catch him on camera.
Well, we do over and over again, and everybody's like, oh, it's fake. It's a person in a suit. Oh, it's this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's the same thing.
That's true. And although I think some of them are fakes, I don't think all of them are. But I don't know. Like I said, that the mermaid mockumentary, it was pretty bad. So I don't know. It's just not something that to me seems realistic. I mean, could mermaids be something in a spiritual realm? I think so. I think that's a possibility. You know, when it comes to the spirits, who am I to judge? I'm just a human.
I mean, they could be
You know.
interdimensional beings. They could be.
It could be.
Could be our aliens.
Going back to the.
We're looking up in the
synchronicities.
sky and bitch, they're in the water.
Oh, right. They've been here all this time.
Or they're in the sky and the water and on Earth. They're everywhere.
They just, yeah, that's true. Well, like I said, that's the fun about talking about these kinds of topics is that there's nothing that's impossible about it. I mean, I won't say that. I'll say, do I believe it? No. Is it impossible? No, it's not. And I mean, it's certainly, it's not probable to me, but I think it's certainly possible. And that's just, again, a matter of opinion. I mean, I can't prove that they don't exist, so I'm not going to try.
Right. There's so much stuff beyond our comprehension. It's like, why do we have a spleen?
Yeah.
Like,
No.
why did we develop all these organs?
That we don't need.
Like
Gallbladder.
Or the ones that we do need. Shit.
Just why do I put
I
myself
know
through so
why
much
we got
work
them, but-
every day just breathing?
I mean, no, I know why we got them, but it's
Yeah.
like, why were we given them?
Why is
where
a
did they come from?
Like, why is a chair called a chair? Like, who made the
Right.
vocabulary,
Great design. Yeah, me and my friend Brent actually had a conversation about that.
About vocabulary and who started this and, why
how
is
things,
it that?
how things developed. Like, a bowl is like your hands cupped together.
Yeah.
But it's like, was it always called a bowl? Or like, what inspired
Why is
it to be called a bowl?
Or like, why is the color red?
Right.
When, like, we could have called blue red. Like, why didn't we do that?
And what if my red is your blue? But
I don't know about that.
no, hear me out, okay?
Okay.
So, I see a color. You see a color.
Okay.
That color to you is what would be my blue. Okay? Like, I would see the color blue,
Okay, you're looking at blue.
but you would call it red. But it's blue.
And you see blue.
Right.
But because everybody calls it red,
Right.
stop it.
Me and Royce actually had a conversation about this. We
You
spent
quit it.
6 hours painting a basement with no ventilation with oil-based paint. Bitch, I
Oh,
swear to God, we were
wow.
fucked up. We literally talked
Yeah.
about it for like 3 to 4 hours.
Well, that's an easy topic to get lost in because that is one of those things with perception. It doesn't. It just depends. I mean, you won't know, and you will never have the capability to know because you will never be able to take your consciousness and put it into somebody else's and merge it and see it through the way that they see it. You can try. You can try to be empathetic and you can try to put yourself in that, but you can never really know until you know. That's deep.
Unless you're a Gemini. Because then you're just in the same pot.
Very true.
When two become one.
That's true. That's good. Maybe we'll talk about that sometime in the near future. But I think that we've pretty well covered the topic of Atlantis and the different possibilities and what do you guys think? Do you guys consider it a sunken city that we have simply lost because it has fallen into the ocean, but it's devoid of people? Do you consider Atlantis to be a utopia that's still around and still very well populated with some different type of human? Or do you, maybe it was a city that was once populated that no longer is. I definitely want to hear other people's opinions on it. Again, I think it's a really fun topic, and so, I want to know what people think, and especially with different cultures and stuff. It's probably different in different cultures, it's probably it's just dependent on the type of media that you've been exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Who's an Atlantean expert? People don't just sit around and, dedicate their life to finding Atlantis. For the most part, usually Atlantis is kind of a secondary topic for things, and so it's not really, put in the forefront of somebody's life, which is kind of crazy because there's a possibility that there's a whole other species out there and we're just kind of ignoring it because it sounds insane. That's very smart of us to do.
Right. Seems pretty close-minded, if you ask me.
Well, we are pretty good at being pretty close-minded, so. That's why we have this show, because it's a niche. You know, but that's, hey, you know, just like I said, let us know what you guys think. And, you know, hopefully, you know, next week's topic, we've actually gotten to, we have a lot of topics, like, that we want to, like, touch on, and really talking about Atlantis and, like, looking into it really, you know, kind of got us into, you know, even more things that we could talk about. And then, you know, of course, we're always taking suggestions. You know, it gives us an opportunity to learn about things that maybe we don't know much about, or that, you know, maybe we wanted to learn about, we just haven't really had the time. So, you know, you guys help us, you know, by having us help you. I mean, it'll work out eventually.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you know, I think we're...
Yeah, I think that's good.
I mean,
we got off topic a little bit, but I think that's cool.
I think it's fine, yeah. I think it's good. All right, guys. Well, I guess we will see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.